Some people might say the word clutch gets thrown out a little bit too often in the year of 2025, but when you talk about CJ Abrams, the man is clutch.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, I am your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And of course, look up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, and of course, the video version over on YouTube. You can check us out. Again, just search Locked On Nationals. And of course, we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day. And later on in today's show, you've got the Guardians visiting the Nationals today with Lane Thomas, who is not in the Guardians lineup. He is actually on the IL with a wrist injury, but I do want to revisit that trade because it turned out to be a very good trade for the Washington Nationals. So we'll talk about tonight's game and also talk about that Lane Thomas trade made at last year's deadline later on in the program today. In the second segment, it is a Monday, so you know what that means. It is a Nats Stock Report Monday. Who has been up and who has been down? We'll discuss that in the second segment of the show, but we start off discussing CJ Abrams. Let's talk about that. This guy has been on fire the last few weeks here. We're going to get into some numbers there, but today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. And take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. There is no discount when you talk about the Nationals franchise shortstop with CJ Abrams. And right now, with where we stand with CJ, he is placing himself in the conversation to be one of the best shortstops in the National League. And I don't say that lightly. There are a ton of good shortstops in the National League. Even just looking in the NL East. Francisco Lindor at the New York Mets, he's awesome. Our own guy, used to be our own guy rather, Trey Turner with the Philadelphia Phillies, he's awesome also. But with where CJ is today, the 24-year-old, you have to feel amazing where he is at. A 10-game hit streak that goes through this series against Cincinnati Reds. And in yesterday's ball game, when it mattered most, to extend the lead, you had a 2-1 lead later on in that game. Then CJ Abrams hits that massive double and gets 2 runs across the board. When are the Nationals going to realize that this guy is the future? When are the Nationals going to realize that there is no better option than CJ Abrams at this point? We have all talked for years now at this point with Nationals players leaving, whether it be Bryce Harper or Juan Soto or Trey Turner. You trade away Max Scherzer. You trade away Lane Thomas. When are the Nationals going to realize that you have to lock up CJ Abrams? And that you do have an opportunity to lock him up for the long term. There was a story that came out last year, I believe, in which the Nationals were engaging and have kind of even talked with CJ about a possible extension. Then he was sent down later on in the year for some off-field issues and really struggled in the second half of the season. That probably put things on a halt there. But he's doing the thing again. He is getting hot. He is putting up huge numbers offensively here, and he has been a lot better defensively also. He is working himself into more money each and every single day. In the Nationals, it gets harder and harder to extend this kid every single day. You look at across Major League Baseball at this point. Shortstops and premier shortstops are hard to come by. They don't just grow on a tree. CJ, for being only 24 years old, being locked up for the next few years, he hasn't hit his ARB years just yet. You have an opportunity to lock this guy up to a pretty lucrative contract for him, but also a team-friendly one in that sense. The more that we wait with CJ at this point, it's only going to get worse. And what we have seen here as of recent in this 10-game hit streak, and also, by the way, coming off of injury, he has been on fire. CJ Abrams is a huge reason as to why the Nationals are where they are today. If you take CJ away from this lineup, we saw it. It wasn't that pretty. The Nationals offense, they were kind of in a stall. You saw they weren't really scoring too many runs. There really wasn't that many exciting offensive outputs there. And now you have Abrams back in the lineup, and you see in yesterday's game, he comes up with the big hits. Since coming back from injury, he has 15 hits in his 11 games. He's got 3 doubles, he's got 2 triples, and he's had some really sharp defensive plays also. Abrams, even after coming off from the IL, has been on fire. Again, 15 hits in his last 11 games after not playing baseball for nearly 2 weeks. And also, when we talk about clutch, because that is one thing that we have mentioned with CJ Abrams, he is one of, if not the most clutch hitter on this Nationals team up at this point. He has had 12 go-ahead RBIs this season, heading into yesterday's ball game. Now, he also had that 2-run RBI yesterday to kind of pad the Nationals' lead, and obviously they went on to win yesterday's game. But CJ is one of the most clutch hitters so far this season in Major League Baseball. The Nationals, at some point in time, are going to have to come back to the negotiating table and give him what he wants. If the Lerner family, which we all know they have been under fire for the last few seasons now, if they had any sort of just will to get back in the good graces of Nationals fans, you'd probably try to look to extend CJ Abrams probably yesterday or today. Anytime is the right time at this point. And that's where we sit, where the Nationals. But again, they got a good series win this weekend. Mackenzie Gore in yesterday's ball game, 5 innings pitched, striking out 9 batters, yet again, walking 4 guys also in a pretty rainy contest there. Let me just say this. You all saw Mackenzie Gore slip and fall there. David Martinez came running out of the dugout. It was pouring rain in Cincinnati, and they somehow, some way did not delay that game. Let me just say this. If Major League Baseball, or not if Major League Baseball, but if Mackenzie Gore got hurt there, I would open up a lawsuit against Major League Baseball. This is just one of those things where we all hate rain delays. Every time it happens, when you're at the ballpark, it sucks. No one ever roots for a rain delay. But in that instance yesterday, that was when I realized this is why you have rain delays. This is why you don't play the game when it is pouring down rain. Because yesterday you saw Mackenzie Gore clearly slip and fell on the mound because of the pouring rain. He also could not find the strike zone afterwards because he had nowhere dry in his pants to try to dry off his hands. Yesterday was just a friendly reminder that domes should be a thing in Major League Baseball. I love outdoor games, but domes are actually pretty cool. And they're actually kind of nice because you don't get to have rain pouring down on your Nationals players and almost breaking Mackenzie Gore's ankle in yesterday's game. I was like ready to run to Cincinnati to see if Mackenzie Gore is okay. Because as we saw in yesterday's game, again, Mackenzie Gore is your ace pitcher. If you don't have Mackenzie Gore on this team pitching every 5 days, this season is as good as gone. It's not going to happen, and you're not going to be all too good this season. Mackenzie Gore is way too important for this team. Way too important. With where you sit today, you have to protect that guy at all costs. So glad to see that we avoided anything major with Mackenzie Gore. Just seems as he kind of twisted his ankle there. He should be just fine. He finished the inning and got out of that little jam there. But again, Mackenzie Gore and rain delays, I see why they happen overall. Before we get into a Nats stock report, though, how about the Nationals bullpen as of late? We've been hard on this bullpen so far. Colin Poche got DFA'd. You have Andrew Chafin come in. He actually looked pretty good in his first night out on Saturday night, striking out 2 batters in 2/3 of an inning. But as we have seen recently, they've been really good. In Sunday's win, 4 innings pitched, 0 earned runs. Saturday, 3 2/3 and 1 earned run from Salazar, and also 1 earned run in Friday's game came from Salazar as well. The Nationals bullpen as of recent has actually been really solid. They have seemingly finally found their footsteps here. And there really was only one way to go for them because they were statistically the worst bullpen in all of baseball. They still are at this point. But you have seen them kind of find some consistency there. Jose Ferrer has looked good. Jorge Lopez has looked really good as of late. Kyle Finnegan continues to do what he has been doing best, closing out baseball games and being good in the clutch. So the Nationals, just a well-rounded, very good weekend. CJ Abrams stays hot with a 10-game hit streak. James Wood's on-base streak is at 14 games at this point. And the Nationals, they get ready to take on Cleveland tonight. An AL Central battle against the Cleveland Guardians, a very good young team in my opinion. I think they're going to make some noise in October. So let's preview that game later on in today's show. But we've got a Nats stock report to get to here first. Who has been up and who has been down? We'll discuss that after I tell you about some of our very good friends over at Monarch Money. And of course, I have told you all about Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out and online shopping and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. And Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. And I can tell you this, I was looking at Monarch Money just the other day, and I realized that I've been spending way too much money on DoorDash, whether I'd be coming home late at night from going out with friends or watching the Nationals game over at Nats Park. I come home, I get food delivered to me, and all of a sudden that starts to add up over time. And Monarch Money, they put that budgeting into my face, and I was like, oh my God, I need to start saving money. And they started to help me build some wealth. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONMLB for 50% off your first year. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, you get to a Nats stock report today. Who has been up and who has been down? We start off with James Wood. And of course, you would obviously talk about CJ Abrams, but we spent a good 7 minutes on him earlier today. So now it's James Wood's turn. The future of the Nationals, James Wood, CJ Abrams. Stock up for James Wood. Over his last 7 games, again, he's on this on-base streak right now that has extended to 14 games. And it's come at the right time for the Washington Nationals. So over his last 7 games, he's batting .333 with a .455 on-base percentage and a .556 slug. 9 total hits in his last 7 games, 6 walks, also 3 doubles and a home run to add to his Nationals team lead in home run category there. Where James Wood is at right now in his development, I think not a lot of people expected him to be this good this early on. And it just goes to show you that the Nationals have another superstar. They have done it yet again. When you talk about James Wood, you say superstar James Wood. The Nationals have done this thing. They have done it again in years past. Bryce Harper in 2012, Juan Soto in 2018. And now you've got James Wood, who kind of broke out a little bit last year, but is really coming onto the national stage this year. James Wood is a star, guys. There is no way around it. It's not, oh, he's going to be a star. No, the conversation is James Wood is a superstar, and he is a superstar now. You've seen it with the walk-off hits. You have seen him come up in big situations. You have seen him hit 450-foot home runs. You have seen the high exit velocities. James Wood has arrived. And he is one of probably your best Nationals hitter today. He is the best hitter on this Nats team. It's between him and CJ Abrams, in which both those guys, they're stars. So James Wood, for like the 10th straight week in a row, I feel like, stock up for James Wood. What a star that we have here brewing in Washington, D.C. Now we have to get to a stock down, and that comes with center fielder Jacob Young. There's going to have to be a conversation that we will likely tackle in tomorrow's game. Jacob Young, his defense does not make up for his poor offense. While he is a great defender, this is not an everyday player. And this has become more clear as the days go by. For whatever reason, and it's really not for whatever reason, Jacob Young just is not getting it done. He is solid on the base pass, even though he had that really slow start this year, getting thrown out multiple times earlier on this season. And one of them kind of costing the Nationals a late inning rally to lose the game against the Dodgers, I believe, early on this season. But Jacob Young at this point, I'm kind of done with this experiment. I'm ready to see your Robert Hassel III. I'm ready to see Dalen Lyle. Or hell, even Andrew Pinckney has been killing the baseball down in Rochester over the last few weeks here. Jacob Young is great defensively. And yes, people rally around this guy. He was great last year. He should have been a Gold Glover. And he has that caliber he has that kind of ceiling that he can win a Gold Glove each and every single season in center field. But having a sub 600 OPS, barely batting 200, it's not getting the job done at a pretty premier offensive position. You could do better. And the Nationals, they have some options in-house that I think they could do better. And I think it's going to have a strong conversation moving forward with Jacob Young that we'll probably tackle on tomorrow's show. So he stocked down for Jacob Young. The offense just has not been there. And you're going to have to see some improvements for him to stay in that lineup consistently. But a stock up, as we mentioned in the first segment, the Nats bullpen, Jorge Lopez. Since being tossed in Pittsburgh, where he got rocked in that Pirates series, he allegedly threw at Andrew McCutchen's head, which I think has been proven that he did not purposely do that. He should not have been tossed. He should not have been suspended. It was ridiculous. But since that game, he has gone 7 2/3 innings pitched since, 2 hits allowed, 1 earned run, only 1 walk, and a 0.91 batting average against, and a 3.02 ops against him also. Jorge Lopez has been a key contributor so far this season in this Nats pen. He has had some bad moments. Do not get me wrong in that sense. He has been pretty bad at times. But over the last few weeks, he has settled in. He has continued to pitch really well for the Nationals. And he is going in some pretty big situations, pitching multiple innings against Cincinnati Reds and going scoreless in those innings also. Jorge Lopez has quietly turned it around, and that he is a former all-star reliever. This guy has had some success over the last few years, whether it's with Baltimore or wherever he has been. The New York Mets last year kind of blew up in his face, but the Chicago Cubs, he was really good in the first half of last season also. The Nationals may have found something with Jorge Lopez. And if he can stay consistent and if he can continue to pound the zone, throw strikes, because again, only 1 walk in his last nearly 8 innings pitched, that's really impressive for someone who struggled a ton earlier on this season to command the zone. But now with Jorge Lopez, he has been proven to be a reliable guy for a not-so-reliable bullpen, and that's going to be a big deal to watch as we get closer to the trade deadline. Or maybe the Nationals hold on to him, try to make a wild card run. We don't know at this point. But stock up for Jorge Lopez. Stock down for Mitchell Parker. We were on that magical carpet ride earlier on this season with Mitchell Parker. He has still been good, but over his last 2 starts, he has gotten rocked around. Over his last 2 starts, he had 5 innings pitched and 6 earned runs and 9 walks over his last 2. This has just not been the Mitchell Parker that we saw earlier this season. Against the Mets in that first inning, giving up 5 runs, that was a crucial outing for him. He did not come up to the situation very well. Unfortunately for him, he was coming off one of his best starts of his career, probably his best start overall, when 8 innings pitched, shoved shutout baseball, and looked dominant in that game. Against the Mets, walked a ton of batters early on in the inning, gave up 5 runs in that first start, then actually looked pretty good for the rest of the game. But then in Friday night against Cincinnati Reds, did not look good. And again, the walks are killing him at this point. 9 walks over his last 2 starts. He's not finding the zone well here. And again, the Nationals are just kind of stuck in this spot with him where if he can throw strikes, he's going to be relatively successful because his outings overall, like you see why the Nationals trust him. You see why the Nationals continue to put him out there every 5 days. He's got good stuff. He does have the strikeout stuff, but the numbers have not been there over the last 2 starts. Stock up for your favorite player, for my favorite player, for everyone's favorite player, Alex Call, the guy who should be starting in center field or in right field, wherever you want to put him. Alex Call, he is a baseball player, man. He is like a guy that you want to root for. He hustles everywhere. He does everything right. He has a great Twitter account, by the way, now where you can actually catch him out. He's actually been pretty active as of late. So Alex Call, 7 hits in his last 5 games, 4 walks, just 3 strikeouts over his last 7 games. I have said this time and time again, and it kind of puts a foot in my mouth for what I have said in years past, and really over this season also. But where the Nationals are, you want to see where they're young guys and what they can do. Alex Call, who is 30 years old, not necessarily a big part of this future. But he has been the hot bat. You have to play this guy every single day now. And we are in that conversation yet again because of how good Alex Call has been. He is solid in the outfield. He's great at the plate. He's got one of the best eyes in Major League Baseball. Like with Juan Soto, the way that we talked about him and his plate discipline, Alex Call has that. I'm not saying it's better than Juan Soto, but it is certainly up there. This guy has a just great idea of the strike zone for each and every single umpire. He obviously puts in the work. He continues to put up great at-bats and puts the ball in play and does not strike out and also takes his walks. And he is a great base runner. Alex Cole is a treat to the Washington Nationals at this point, and he has easily worked his way into being one of, if not my favorite player so far this season for the Washington Nationals. But with that said, a former Nationals great, I guess you could say, Lane Thomas, would have made his return, but he's actually on the IL with that wrist injury. So let's revisit that Nationals trade last offseason. I'm going to tell you why the Nationals made the absolute right decision getting Lane Thomas up and out of town and getting some prospects here with Jose Tena and Alex Clemmie. Let's talk about that trade after we tell you about our friends at Upwork. Are you scaling your business requirements to the right expertise at the right time? Well, with Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. And Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. And it's not really just about it is about being simple and affordable, but you also have to find the right talent. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. And of course, it is fast and easy hiring that has some cost-effective growth also. So instead of hiring full-time, Upwork's find affordable top-tier freelancers that scale my business efficiently. And with that in mind, make sure you visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So, a former Nationals great over the last few years, Lane Thomas. You would have loved to see him back in DC tonight, but he is on the injured list. He has hurt his wrists, and he has not made any rehab starts just yet. But I do want to talk about the trade last year. That was a pretty divided trade by the Nats and this fan base. Lane Thomas was a great player for the Nationals. It was a diamond in the rough, per usual, with Mike Rizzo. He traded away John Lester back in 2021. You get Lane Thomas at the deadline. You bring him in. He is a great fielder. He was great at the plate. And Lane Thomas came in town and was an all-star caliber player who should have been an all-star each of the last 2 seasons. He was that good. In right field and center field, wherever you put him. He had a hose for an arm. He could throw anyone out from anywhere in the outfield. And he was an awesome clubhouse guy for the Washington Nationals. Well, they moved off him at the deadline. He was sent to Cleveland. He had a huge postseason for the Guardians. And Guardians fans love Lane Thomas. But so far this season, he was batting sub 200. He's got a negative 0.5 B WAR on this young season so far. And now he's on the injured list with a hurt list. But with the Nationals and that trade, they have done very well already. Jose Tena, who has been very good, stout defensively even, I would say, over at third base so far this season. He has been incredible to watch. One of the better offensive pieces that the Nationals have as far as the young pieces go. Jose Tena is a big league bat. The question is how good will he be defensively? And I think over time, you have seen him get better and better defensively over at that hot corner. Now, unfortunately for him, you've got Brady House coming up probably pretty soon because he's been killing the baseball in AAA Rochester. But where the Nationals are and Tena, you got to see this guy play every single day. And fortunately enough for the Nationals, you're going up against a right-handed pitcher in tonight's ball game. So you're probably going to see Jose Tena play against the former team that kind of developed him and made him into a very good hitter because the Guardians have a great system overall, and they're one of my favorite front offices in all of baseball at this point. But you've got Luis Ortiz on the bump tonight, going up against Jake Irvin also. Jake Irvin's going to need a pretty big start after getting rocked around in Philadelphia, his past start, and you just want to see him bounce back because, again, going to Philadelphia, getting rocked the way that he did, it's never fun. But now you're back at home where Jake Irvin seemingly pitched best, and you're going up against a Guardians team that does have some really good hitting in there, but this should be a series that the Nationals kind of take cautiously because you've got Jake Irvin going tonight against Ortiz, who has been just coming off a great start against Minnesota, but overall his numbers this season aren't too great. He does like to walk some guys. He does have some strikeout stuff. I think really good sweeper in there. So the Nationals, they should overall fare well in this series. Unfortunately enough for us, we aren't going to see Lane Thomas this series, so that sucks. But that guy's been great here in DC. You still see Lane Thomas jerseys, and the guy, you love to see it because Cleveland, they love that trade also. But we have Alex Clemming down in the minors, who has looked really good in high A Wilmington so far this season. Big strikeout numbers, big strikeout stuff. And that's what you love to see from a 19, 20-year-old left-handed southpaw. So maybe we'll see Lane Thomas back sometime soon, but it will not be for this Nationals series. So thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Have a good one. Go Nats.